Hello, it's me again, good old Mr. Oilfield Geek. This is the sequel to the series of oilfield videos I've been posting on the web recently, which are really not videos, but rather a string of still pictures that I took as a kid back in the Rangeley oil field in western Colorado almost 40 years ago. On the prequel to what you're about to see, I gabbed incessantly. This time I'm going to shut my fat yap and just let you enjoy the photographs. All of these pictures, pretty much all of them, were taken between the years 1966 and 1972 in the giant Rangeley field. So, enough ado, let's get rolling. That's me at about age 16. You will see a little duplication here. One of my high school teachers, long retired by now, took this picture of me. He is the one who first got me interested in photography. I don't know if he knew what a monster he was creating, who would end up taking 300 pictures of what to everybody else was just their backyard, the Rangeley oil field. But I'd like to honor this man who, to this day, is an accomplished photographer. He and his wife have traveled all over western Colorado and the surrounding environs. They've won many prizes and exhibited their photos in many places. And I guess in one small way, I am his legacy. So, Bill Mitchum, my hat is off to you, and thank you. The 1960s, the late 60s, were not a good time for school kid choices in pants, just so you know. We were not all crazy, but some of us did kind of dress that way. Got to comment on this one. This is a pumper we called Holyhead. Years later, I would write to the manufacturer and ask, because of its unique design, about when it was manufactured, and I got a response back from the company that made it, that it appears in their catalogs in the mid to late 1940s. Since that's when our field was drilled, the deep part of it anyway, I suspect that this is the original placement on this oil well. Here it's seen on a well called Henry W. Gray B13. When this well was later converted to a different type of production, they moved the pump to a second oil well in the Rangeley field, and then I suspect it disappeared forever. Very interesting, very unique design. This was one of two experimental hydraulic oil pumping machines that was tried. I don't know how successful either one was, but since there were only two of them in the 500 well field, I think they needed to go back to the drawing board. There it is, good old Rangeley Grade School on the right, and on the left there's still a derrick tower over a water flood injection oil well. The mountain in the background is called Coal Oil Ridge. That's Raven A1. That was the discovery well of the Rangeley Deep Field, drilled in 1933 to 1934. Sat idle until the 40s when World War II necessitated them building roads into this remote place, and the great oil boom was on. There is another view of that hydraulic experimental pump. This well obviously has a little water problem. There's the pump that was working, the well that was leaking. This is the zebra pump. Used to be near an airstrip, painted with bright orange stripes. The mountain in the background was called Melon Hill. On top was a TV tower, and in the town, which was 10 miles away from Melon Hill and about 5 miles behind where I'm standing in this picture, in those pre-cable, pre-internet days, everybody would buy a TV antenna or aerial. They'd climb up on their roof and they would point it at that peak where a TV tower was pointed at another peak. Further west at another peak, and the TV in Salt Lake City, Utah was beamed more than 150 miles, maybe twice that, to get to us in Rangeley. The good part was we always knew what the weather would be a day before it got there. Here we have a man actually fitting the horse head back onto the walking beam of a pump after they've done servicing the well. There's another view of the one and only Holyhead. I was no fan of the underground submersible pumps as I hammed it up here. This is as close as we came to actually touching them. I'm not actually touching it. We tried to be very respectful of the equipment and the workers, and rarely even got this close to anything. Of course, today, the world is far different, and I could probably even be arrested for doing this, for just standing that close. Notice the ancient twin-lens reflex camera in my hand. When the Rangeley boom happened back in the 40s, the town went from basically being a so desolate place that no one ever heard of it because there was almost nothing there, to a place with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of oil field workers scrambling to drill the field and having no place to live. And so they lived wherever they could in tents and houses that were put together very quickly. And one entrepreneur even got some old streetcars from either Salt Lake City or Denver or somewhere and had them trucked into Rangeley and set them up as houses. Now this is, of course, a number of years later, but here is one of the surviving streetcar houses, which now has been converted into a horse feeding barn. The little shack here used to sit over the motor of an oil field walking beam pump. Now it just sits over instruments or something. The base that used to hold the pump and the wellhead is seen in the background. Today, if you go to Rangeley, the remaining pumps are all painted the same color as the background, so they kind of blend into the scenery and disappear. While that may be more aesthetically pleasing to environmentalists, I liked them when they were black. That's just me. That beautiful mountain in the background, once again, is Coal Oil Ridge. This is what's left of a Bethlehem conventional pump after it's been replaced with a bigger one. Now these are some little guys. Alongside the mile-deep Weber deep wells, little, much more shallow oil wells, maybe 500 feet deep, we're still trying to harvest oil out of the Manco Shale much closer to the surface. That's a pumper we called Old Ironsides. One January night, Old Ironsides was pumping up and down when one of the arms pushing the walking beam snapped. Actually, the crank at the arm base snapped. Because in those days there were no sensors to tell it to turn off, it just kept trying to pump oil, and it twisted itself up into like an old washcloth, like you see here. There, it's still on the well where it happened. There's another shallow Manco shale oil pump. Now that is Mellon Hill again in the distance, the place that had the TV tower, and in the foreground are bases that held the original oil field walking beam pump, and then a much larger pump on the other side of the wellhead. In my day, even when the pumps were removed and the well was shut down, they left the bases there so you could see what had been there. Today, everything has been removed but the wellhead itself. We occasionally had sudden squalls, drop a lot of water. There's the good old hometown playing field again and being resodded in the summer. The old grade school down there, Coal Oil Ridge in the distance. And the famous Walbridge oil derrick on the left. I've donated most of these pictures, copies of them, to the Rangeley Museum, which opened just before I left town in 1972. So my first submission to them was these 12 photographs. Can I count? Yeah, good, there's 12. Phew, your education dollars were not wasted. Most of my 300 picture collection has been donated by this time. For whatever it's worth. Another shot of Mellon Hill with the shut down oil well in the foreground. Sometimes when a pump wears out, you just lay another base and put another pump in right next to it. It's interesting that in my day in the Rangeley field, the bases the pump sat on faced either dead north, dead south, dead east, or dead west. You never found one at an angle. The smaller square bases you see kind of in the foreground there were 4 of them around the wellhead, and they once held the derrick tower over this well. This well was behind the old Bestway grocery store. Now, this is a little hard to see because it's glaring, but those are the lights of the town in the distance. We lived kind of on the hill for a short while on the rim around the town, and the little tiny specks of light you see in the distance are miles out into the oil field basin. Those are the underground submersible electric pumps that on the surface had a control box with a light. The light was on if the pump was pumping. Not as much fun to watch during the day because nothing moved, but driving through the field at night was pretty. This is a water injection, a water flood well. Water forced down the well to push the oil toward the remaining producers. It burst on a cold January night, and this was the result. That's another view of it. Don't know how well you can see it. This is the top half or third of one of the Rangeley derrick towers after they were removed from the field. An enterprising contracting company in neighboring Vernal, Utah, about an hour away, actually had, or is it Jensen? No, I think this is Vernal, actually had it trucked over there and installed out in front of their shop. They got a shallow field pump to sit underneath. Not bad. These mighty oil pumps could go almost 50 feet high when they were fully extended. Don't look at that one. Okay, let's keep moving on. Have we seen them all? Maybe. Oh, here's some new ones. One time, all the pumps had little tin shacks over their motors or prime movers. Eventually, all but this one were removed. How this little, maybe this one looks like it was kind of made in somebody's garage, and maybe that's how it survived. Okay, are we down toward the end? It looks like we're getting mostly duplicates here. That is Raven A1 again, the Discovery well. And here we have the town of Rangeley in the background. I hope you've enjoyed this little show, and have a nice day.